It is sad to me to think about how, under capitalism, things have to have a monetary value to be valued. That stinks. But also, ain't no more free astrology readings no more. Not over here. Let's talk about it. Hey, it is your friendo, the lady Ms. VaginaJenkins, and I've recorded this video so many dang times. I really have. I just am noticing some shifts in the way that I run my astrology business, and I want to acknowledge those shifts, and I want to talk about what is never going to change, what is always going to stay the same, and also the ways in which some things have shifted. So first of all, things that will never change, like major guiding principles that I hope that I will always adhere to because they feel very important to me. First and foremost, as I am thinking about like my one-on-one readings with folks, and also the transit readings that I do here at the first of the month, first Wednesday of the month, by the way. I never want to be prescriptive in my astrology. I very much do not think that there are absolutes in astrology or fate predictors, like you will experience this for sure, or this is always how this particular energy or placement plays out, because there is no fate but what we make. And so, yes, I can talk about the ways in which I have seen this energy manifest in different charts, but ultimately it's up to you to work with it in your own unique way, and that is not something that I can predict. That is completely and entirely up to each individual person.
There's no fate but what we make for ourselves, right?
Secondly, definitely I think of astrology consults as us sharing wisdoms. I don't think that an astrology reading is something that you put your hands out and receive. You know, like capitalism teaches us that everything is a product. You know, you just put your hands out and pay your money. That is not what I am about when I'm doing my one-on-one consultations. What I feel like is that it's the work that we are sharing in together to help problem solve any given issue. So I know some stuff about the astrology wisdom, you know some stuff about the way that the patterns of your life have played out, and we are sharing and exchanging wisdoms and trying to, like, you know, strategize. It's us working together, not me giving you a product. Never that. And then I feel like my third major guiding principle that I hope never changes is that I very much view the use of astrology in a way that, like, it can be used as a healing modality. I think so much about modern society, particularly under like capitalism, and then for marginalized people experiencing patriarchy, racism, ableism, all of the isms, that it can alienate you from yourself. Like Socrates says, to know thyself is the beginning of wisdom. And I think that so much about the isms, the systems in power are keeping us alienated from ourselves so that we don't have that internal sense of wisdom and we look outside ourselves to consume, to be distracted. And I think that getting into astrology can be a tool, one of many, that we use to reconnect to our own internal wisdoms. And I love the idea of helping facilitate people's connection in that way. So yeah, I hope those things never change about my astrology practice. But I know a change gonna come. Oh, yes, it will. Things that have absolutely got to change and have changed since I started professionally practicing astrology, which I would say is probably 4 years now. Like late 2020 is when I started like professionally giving readings. So yeah, first and foremost, like I said in the intro, ain't no more free readings. Because I have recognized that one of the ways in which internalized capitalism shows up in people is that we do not value things that don't have a monetary value. And that is a damn shame. It really ought not be that way. There's so many resources that can really be shared and given freely through a heart-centered experience of reciprocity rather than the experience of transactions. At least that's my idea, generally speaking, like as I conduct myself in life. And I thought that I would be able to apply that to my astrology business as well, but people just do not seem to value things that come to them for free. And it is so sad to me. I'm not gonna call out any names or anything like that, but it has just happened to me so many times that I did a astrology giveaway and the person just never reached out, or reached out on like the day before it expired. Or I've done bartering, like exchanging for readings with other astrology or tarot or other divinatory practitioners, and they don't show up with their half of the thing. They don't take their half of the bartering or the trade seriously. Yeah, I think in the future, if I do any bartering or trading for readings, that I would like to be the one that goes first, or rather receives my reading first, so that I can sort of calibrate what I would like to then offer to the other person in reciprocity. So that's one way that I'm changing things. Another way is I don't think that there will be any more free readings anymore. If I do any giveaways or anything like that, I will do heavily discounted readings. I also have a sponsor a reading option on my website. And so, yeah, if people of means or of privilege have the coin to put down to sponsor readings for other people, then I'm at least being compensated. Another thing that has had to change is ain't no more emergency clients. I've had it's been a couple of years since I've experienced this, but people who reach out for any sort of divinatory, spiritual, coaching, therapeutic services in crisis do not need my services. You don't need an astrologer when you're experiencing crisis. You don't need a tarot diviner when you're experiencing crisis. You need a licensed therapist or other medical or therapeutic professional. And that is outside the scope of what I am able to do. And I'm not able to hold space for people as they are actively in crisis. Another major thing that I had to change, and this was a more recent thing, consent. Consent. I'm just starting to get into compatibility in synastry sorts of readings. And for those of you that might not know, that's basically when you take two people's or two entities' birth charts, because you could do it with like yourself and a country, or yourself and a particular job or workplace, or yourself and a particular person. But yeah, two charts, combining them together to see how these charts are interacting with each other. And yeah, as I'm starting to get into that, I'm recognizing that consent and ethical issues around consent are huge for me. Yeah, not to get too much into it, but I had a client that reached out that was like, hey, can you look at the charts for me and my boo? And I did all this work, took all these notes, did all this research, and right before the reading, it occurred to me, ha ha ha, and in a funny kind of joking way, I was like laughing to myself, ha ha ha, this partner probably hates this because they had so many Scorpio placements. And then I hopped on the call with the person and I was like, hey, just to be sure, has your partner consented to this? And they were like, no. And I was like, well, could you have a conversation with him? Just a quick conversation, like, hey, boo, I'm interested in looking at our astrology. You cool with that? Yeah, no. Anyway, and the client was not comfortable reaching out to the partner to ask for their consent. And that was a huge red flag for me. And it reminded me so much about how your astrology chart is very personal information. It talks about like all of these experiences you have had, will likely have in your lifetime, the way that you do so many things relating to people, your sex life, your work life. This is really important and private information that people need to be able to give consent about. And so, yeah, that is something that, you know, that red flag just sort of stopped me in my tracks, and I'm considering how to do and get consent around synastry or composite chart readings now. And similarly, I was also doing occasionally looking at charts of like queer folks that have passed on and not getting any sort of spiritual ancestral consent. And so, yeah, I'm definitely looking at how I need to go about that practice as well and shifting things there.
They say that life's about balance, baby, and the balance is in my account now.
And lastly, and this is a really recent thing, like I'm talking about in the last couple of weeks, I am recognizing that my love of screen time is directly affecting the ways that I can show up for my astrology business. And the two are increasingly incompatible. Real talk, getting into like some nitty-gritty astrology, I think that this realization was brought on by the fact of the Mars-Uranus conjunction that is happening in Taurus. That is happening in my 6th house, and it's happening directly on top of my natal Jupiter placement. So I am experiencing debilitating tension headaches because of my screen time. And I am recognizing now that as joyful as it is for me to consume social media content like I have been, I have to find the balance, because if I continue to do that, I will not be able to show up for my work because of these debilitating headaches. And so, yeah, I mean, thank you, Mars-Uranus conjunction. But also, I didn't need that. And I'm cranky about it. I don't want to change. So yeah, very much thinking about what it's like to scroll social media as a way to like enrich my life versus having like other life experiences versus screen time needed to do my work and conduct my astrology business, finding that work-life balance. Yeah, this is going to be a journey. We will see how that develops. Yeah. Shifting capacities. Those are the realities of life. Speaking of capacities, if you would like to increase my capacity to do this sort of work, making YouTube videos, writing blogs for my Patreon and Buy Me a Coffee accounts, please consider becoming a member of this YouTube channel. Cosmic Cuties, members of my channel, get to have all sorts of cool perks like custom emojis, loyalty badges. You get to see content before it's released to anyone else in the public, and it's really great. And it's a really great way to support your local Black queer autistic astrologer in surviving capitalism. So yeah, if you are interested in becoming a channel member, please check out the join button down there. Alternatively, maybe you can't commit to a monthly expenditure like that. Totally understand. Please consider a one-time tip using the thanks button below. All support is graciously accepted, never expected.
appreciate you.
So yeah, thanks for checking out those ways to support me. Thanks for listening to me ramble and watching this video to the end. And as always, thank you for making time for queer astrology. Bye.